time to get hype. It's holiday cube season. Welcome to Cultic Cube, where we cube religiously. We make you better at cube and make your cube better. Today we look at the changes brought by the December 2019 iteration of the MTGO Vintage Cube. I am delighted to welcome back to the show cube connoisseur TeamJbro. Jonathan is the all-time cube trophy leader on MTGO, and you can watch him destroy the competition on his Twitch stream. He and I previously worked together on a longer analysis of the MODO Vintage Cube, which we will bring up to date through our conversation today. You will find our first video linked at the end of this one. I am also excited to announce that TeamJbro and I are organizing CubeCon, a competitive event and a celebration of all things cube. It will be held in Madison, Wisconsin in May 2020. I'll keep you abreast of details as they develop. Cultic Cube is supported by you. Please drop by my Patreon page and learn about me and about perks for you. Also, I work with TCGPlayer, and I receive a small commission when you make purchases through my affiliate link in the video description. My sincere thanks for your support. Hey, Jonathan, good talking to you again.
Yeah, good to be back. Thanks for having me.
So I wanted to chat with you about your experiences with the Cube, since you've had the opportunity to draft the holiday vintage Cube and see some of the changes that Wizards has made since the summer. What's your experience been like so far?
Well, it's still a blast, as cube drafting always is. It's a lot different than the last iteration. It plays much differently, and still figuring some of the quirks out, but I've been enjoying it quite a bit, and I think that there's some helpful insights we'll be able to offer folks who are interested in playing it.
So what are some of the big headline changes that you've noticed?
Oko is completely warping and ridiculously powerful even in this format. So watch out for Oko. It made blue-green even better than it was before. White Weenie is not nearly what it once was in the Vintage Cube. They still do not add Benelish Marshall. They still have Brightling for some reason. I don't think they have the 3-mana Thalia, do they?
No, they haven't added her.
Yeah, so, which makes a huge difference. They also don't have a critical mass of 1-drops for it. So right. I would say that mono white's still pretty good, but it's actually bigger white. It's going to have more of an emphasis on evasion, with Angels and with Signets being a much higher pick. Signets, for some reason, have gone down a little bit. They're still first pickable. I'm not sure why I see them going later now than I normally would, but...
But you're still picking them highly.
Yeah, I think Signets are still very high picks.
Yeah, with White Weenie, I thought it was interesting that it looks like in this version, Wizards has pulled back White Weenie support some, and we'd remarked that over the summer, it had been nerfed pretty hard compared to previous iterations. I kind of like that they have continued pulling support for it just because, firstly, I'd prefer that they supported White Weenie in a robust way. But if they're not going to do that, I think it's preferable that they have 0% support for White Weenie than 25% or something like that.
If you're not in, then it's a sin. Because if you're just going to half donkey it, then why do it? You're just going to be going in with, one of your arms tied behind your back.
Yeah,
especially
right. And you could mislead people.
Well, and this is not a 360 card cube, we must remember.
So you're not going to see all of the components.
Right.
Yeah, that's very true. What else? Black. It looks like they pulled back some support for black aggro, which makes sense because that too wasn't supported particularly well. Although they have Rotting Regisaur now, which is a pretty aggressive card.
It's also a good discard enabler. And it's also one of those cards that's really important. I'm glad you brought that up because Rotting Regisaur, as a 7 power, 6 toughness, 3-drop with only 1 color specific mana, can be a good way to engage a strategy I really, really like, especially when you are on the play in a tight game 3, which is a transformative sideboard. Okay. Being able to flip your Dimir deck, which is like a control-y, maybe you're on a Narset and lots of spells, not a lot of critters type deck, into one that can run Regisaur and other aggressive type creatures and flyers, can kind of come out of nowhere and leave your opponent a little unawares. And they're probably taking out their creature removal, all this stuff. It's something I like. It's something I like to do from time to time. Well, I'll draft a deck with almost no creatures or only super functional creatures like Gonti that serve the larger strategy, and then have a sideboard full of yum aggressive creatures that I can, slam in there while they've taken out their early creature removal or they get punished for it in like a tight game 3, especially when you get to be on the play.
Let me fire off a couple of cards at you that I thought were interesting inclusions and ones that look a little suspect to me, although I've heard some people have had a lot of success with them. For one thing, Gilded Lotus was subbed out for Golos Tireless Tracker.
Yes.
How do you feel about that switch?
It's the tale of this cube. It really kind of boils everything down to what the changes have been in one transaction. In that, Golos is a much more interactive card than Lotus is. Golos also is really good for a 5-color strategy. It's also good for just searching up man lands. Whereas the power level on a Gilded Lotus in the decks that's good and it's just through the roof. And being able to untap it with your Tezzerets or being able to just upheaval people out to oblivion or just go for your Eldrazi easier, stuff like that. So it leans into a more linear, less interactive strategy, whereas Golos is a less linear, more interactive type of card, and that's really the direction it feels like this cube has gone.
What about Bolas's Citadel? I've heard really mixed reports about that, and that's a card that I've been wary of. 6 mana with 3 black pips in it. A card that could be a do-nothing.
I have not actually played it once yet. That being said, I love it. It's a card that's really, it's really interesting. It forces a lot of choices. It's a card that's really highly skill intensive, and it has a cool semi-alternate win con in the tapping ability. So I love it. Creates a lot of puzzles for people to figure out, and that's the type of interaction I love inside of a cube.
So you think in general the changes have tended to make for more interactive games, make for more decision points?
Yes. Another example I see on here, Hostage Taker instead of Fallen Shinobi. So Hostage Taker is definitely one of my favorite cards and quietly one of the most powerful blue-black cards, and that's saying a lot. But Fallen Shinobi is a much more fun, harder to set up, kind of interactive-y type thing that could completely whiff and just hit lands. Whereas Hostage Taker, if you're playing the blue-red sword in a blue-red deck, Hostage Taker can just completely pwn you. Or if you're on the draw and they go turn 2 Signet and you go turn 2 Signet and they take your Signet, that could just be game right there. There's a million interactions where it's just such a quietly one-sided blowout card. Again, a Fallen Shinobi forces the less taken path and often more interesting side of the cube. So although it hurts me personally as a hardcore Dimir player and someone that really likes Hostage Taker and would first pick it all day, every day. So I loves me a Hostage Taker. But on the other hand, I can respect the change, and I think that's kind of the tale of this cube. I still think that one of the quietly most underrated cards in here is Lightning Greaves. Now that's despite White getting nerfed, White Weenie getting nerfed a little bit, or maybe because of it. Again, in your big White Flyers deck, having an Angel that has haste and Shroud is wonderfully powerful. As long as you have a critical mass of creatures, you will not be disappointed.
Well, thank you so much, Jonathan.
My pleasure.
You will find at top left a link to the first analysis of the MODO Vintage Cube that TeamJbro and I did. Tune into Jonathan's Twitch stream, which is always a ton of fun. Let's keep hanging out and chatting Cube.